Hey you guys, Lissandro here, and today I'm gonna do a tutorial in regard to, well, it's not really a tutorial. It is a whiteboard presentation, but anyway, it's in regard to a question that I got asked some time back in regard to business economics, more precisely, and the question goes: Are are large corporations, let's say, much more important than smaller businesses? Are they much more important? And it depends what you mean by importance. Okay, but the thing is, in reality, small businesses are not more important than large businesses, and neither are large businesses more important than small businesses. Each one of them has their own individual advantages and disadvantages. And let me just explain something to you. Okay, so let's say that, for example, that you have this burger joint. Let's say there's this building here. Here, and you have a line of people coming through here. Okay, you have people coming in through here. Let's say that your budget, um, your weekly amount of customers that you get per week are 500 um, per week. Okay, 500 per week, and your budget's based on this. Okay, now let's draw a supply and demand curve. Okay, so your budget is based on this, give or take a customer or two, and you get this amount. Pretty much your supply and your demand is at equilibrium right here. Much everything's balanced. The amount you are paying for your resources, your supplies, what you need to get this establishment going, it is rendering good profit because it's in equilibrium. You know. Now let's change the situation a little bit different. Let's say, for instance, that it's not 500 people, it's 2,000 instead. Then all of a sudden, you get much more people here. Much more people, much more business coming through. And yeah, that's good in the short term. But in the long term, if this is the case permanently uh, from some date on forward, then you have a problem there. Okay, because normally, if it's a short term, you all you do is just expand work hours for your workforce. You don't have to do that much. But the thing is, since this is a change that's permanent, or it's even increasing, then what happens is this. Okay, let's say for instance this is your supply curve. Okay, and this is your demand curve. I was supposed to do this earlier, but earlier it wasn't that necessary since I marked the supply and demand at equilibrium. But the thing is this, okay? Let's say your original budget is intended for 500 customers a week, not 2,000. So it's pretty much here. Let me just okay. It takes me a while to draw on that. And your demand is pretty high. Okay, your demand's pretty high. So pretty much what you have here, you have a shortage. Okay, you have a shortage. You have a shortage here. Okay, and so that means pretty much you only have a supply. You only have 1/4 of your budget only supplies 1/4 of what you need, and you need 3/4 more. So pretty much you're losing potential opportunity gain, and it gets worse if people start getting frustrating and just leaving altogether, because you start losing potential customers that are coming in, and you don't have sufficient supply. Let's say your supplier runs out in the middle of the day, then pretty much you have no choice but just to close doors, because you don't have supplies to offer the products to your customers. So let's say that you started let's say for example that you started on the first day of the week, and all of a sudden you run out halfway throughout the day, then you have no choice but to close it, or at least get somebody to rush out there, buy more supplies, and while you're waiting, you're losing customers there. If you decide to close, then what happens is that um, you pretty much lose a potential opportunity gain on the rest of the day, at least for that day. If you go out and rush quickly, you'll still lose because of the fact that the time it takes from the point you buy your extra supplies and to the point you start operation back up. And even then, that's only like a band-aid. That's only a temporary fix. But in the long term, you run into that problem. Now, one thing you have to consider also is that once it gets to the point where um, you can't keep up with the demand, pretty much there's a series of things that you need to do, and some of them may include, like for example, increasing cost of resources, expansion, new location, or increment in workforce. And the thing with this is that the thing the thing that business owners are um, kind of a little bit edgy about this is that all these things, they cost a lot of money. They cost a lot of money. But the thing is, like a friend of mine told me, is that, or like the saying says that if you want to make money, you have to spend money. Sometimes you have to spend money, and this is what whole deal with the investment and your business is when you spend money to try to expand, to increase production, increase how can I say, to try to increase profit, increase operation. But anyway, now large operations like corporations are a different deal. Okay, those are exactly a very different deal, and let me show you why. Okay, suppose you have a corporate office. Okay, you have your corporate office here. Okay, and your door here, or whatever, and you have a factory that's intended to supply large amounts to thousands or even millions of people. Okay, you have your factory here, all, and it includes everything, all your workforce and everything else. Okay, these have enough power enough resources to supply a large amount of people. However, one of the problems it has is that you you basically have the complete opposite. Let's draw a supply curve and a demand curve. Okay, you have the complete opposite because right here in this circumstance, since you're producing a lot, you have a lot of supply. Okay, you have a lot of supply, enough to supply a large amount of people. However, one of the common problems is you have fewer demand, and because of the fact that you have a smaller demand, then what you have here is that you have a surplus. And y'all might say, sure, whatever, that's fine. You have enough to sell. Um, you have enough left over and all. And the thing is, and it's that really isn't the case. Let me let me tell you why. Okay, let me just erase this for a sec. Okay, so let's say your budget weekly is um, $3,000 per week. Okay, this is only a weekly budget. This is a weekly budget. How much you have to spend to buy whatever resources you want. Let's say that you're you're a cell phone reseller or a retailer or whatever. You spend these $3,000 uh, on cell phones that cost roughly about $100 each. $100 each. Okay. Now you decide to pretty much sell these for $110 each. Okay. This is your price. Okay. This is your price here. Okay. Okay. The problem is in regard to surplus is that, let's say for instance, and these $3,000, $100 each. That means you bought 30 phones. Let's say for instance that you only sold half of it. You only managed to sell 15. Okay, and you're selling that at $110 each. That is how much you gain back. That's pretty much 1,650 $50 you gain back. Okay, how much difference is that from 3,000? That's roughly about this is about $1,350. That is your difference. This is a deficit. That's how much loss you have there. And this is just this week. You continue on the next weekend, um, you sell this or even less, you'll have a bigger deficit. When in reality, what you were supposed to gain was you're supposed to gain 3,300. That's $300 profit that you were supposed to gain, but instead you have a large deficit. And this adds up. When these add up, that's when companies start losing substantial amounts of money over time in the long run. Sometimes it's better to have losses in the short run rather than in the long run. And that's what happens with surplus, because you didn't sell anything, you have leftover products, and it occupies the space of products that you were going to have next week. This is synonymous to when when you have you're drinking from a water fountain, you're drinking, but all of a sudden you don't want it anymore, but the water hose is still on. Okay, it'll be perfect if you drink and it's you shut it off when you no longer want anymore. But if you leave the hose on and it's still running, regardless if you want any more or not, it's still going to be running and still going to be overflowing. And that's the problem with this. Uh, this occupies space. This is potential. This is loss of profit because of the deficit, and because the fact that it takes place of the newer products you have coming, and it's even worse um, for food industry, because the thing is, food has an expiration date. It goes bad, and this is part of the reason why food investment commodities, futures in food, is very risky, and there's some investors that are kind of afraid to get into investments in food. But that's another video for another time. So anyway, what's a way to kind of mitigate this whole deal? The way to mitigate this is very simple. There's number of ways. Okay, okay. So how exactly do you mitigate this? So basically, let's compare a couple of different things. Okay, let's separate the chart. Okay, and let's do something here. Let's say that you, in one side, you spend all your budget. Okay, and the other side you only spend like half, which is $1,500. Okay, let's say that you decide that on both of them you're gonna buy cheaper phones that are a little bit less quality, but not substantially, that they're still perfectly fine. Okay, that would be let's say that there are $50. Same here, $50. Okay, and that you decide to sell them at the price of $100 each. Okay, $100 each. Okay, and let's say for instance that the same thing happens. You only manage to sell half of them. Okay, so the thing is, let's start with the deficit of how much deficit you have. Okay. When you spend all your budget here and you spend $50 here, well, the quantity of phones that you ended up purchasing here was pretty much roughly about roughly about 60. You have 60 phones, while right here, how much you got was the same 30 phones. Okay, and the thing is that let's go based on how many based on this, that you only sold 15 phones, like in the previous example that I gave. Okay, 15 phones. Okay, 15 times 100, that's $1,500. Okay, right here, um, 15 phones is $1,500. Okay, but here's the interesting thing. Okay, while right here, if you noticed, even though you didn't sell all of what you were supposed to sell, you got at least back what you spent, half the budget of what you had spent. So you got your $3,000 that you were initially invested in buying for the phones, and you got 15 leftover products. Okay, so you have 15 leftover products, and you got $3,000 that you didn't technically you didn't have to spend. Hold on, give me a sec. Okay, you have $3,000 left over that you didn't have to spend, and it's disposable for next week. So in a sense, it is a gain, but the thing is, you didn't gain no profit. The only you didn't gain you didn't gain monetarily. You gain in product. So you pretty much have half your production. Okay, so considering considering that only 15 were pretty much sold, you pretty much adjust your budget to the demand of it, and decide to only buy 15 phones, which means that since they're at 50, pretty much the amount you're gonna spend is about let's the amount you're gonna spend is like 500 $750. So you adjust your budget, and you already know how much you're gonna spend. So this it won't be this anymore. It'll be 750. Okay, so 750. Okay, so now that you adjusted your budget, you averted a loss, and you already adjusted your budget in accordance to how much you expect your demand is. Now let's take a look over here. Now here you spent $3,000. Okay, you only gain $1,500 back. Pretty much your deficit at half of this. You gain an amount, but you only gain half of this, so you have a deficit of $1,500 loss here. You have 45 phones left over. Okay, and the thing is that there's only demand for 15 phones, so you have 30 phones left over for next week, and you have a deficit. So pretty much, it's in a sense, it's not as bad as the previous example from when you spend $100 for the phones and all, but it's still a loss, but it's still a better way to compensate. Personally, I prefer this other example over here, just spending half of the amount of the budget, and spending it on something that costs a little bit cheaper to kind of compensate for potential loss, and then getting the amount of money you spend back, and readjusting how much expenditure you're gonna spend next week. Of course, now of course, it gets there's a little bit more to this than just the expenditure of money. There's also, like for example, uh, how how much how can I say, how much opportunity cost there is to sustain a certain amount of product on the shelves and everything. But that's something completely different. Now another thing that I want to focus on here is something else also that I'm sure a lot of us are, I guess, pretty familiar with. Okay, let me just go ahead and adjust this. And the other thing is that we all know supermarkets. Okay, so let me just go ahead and get this. And you already know about your factory. Okay, yeah, your factory that you have here, and your corporate office that's here, whatever. And you have your establishment or home base business here. Okay, yeah. Okay, you have your home-based business here. Okay, another way to kind of mitigate this is pretty much when you only go into production and not that much into marketing the product, since you sell it to the stores. Let's say they produce product A, they're gonna charge the chain, the establishment, or whatever established business, the cost of producing it plus the revenue they expect to gain from it. And when it gets to the stores, they, you know, and you buy things, you're not just paying for the product. You're paying for how much it costs to purchase it, which is this, how much it costs for them to sustain it on the shelves, and the revenue that they're gonna gain from it. That's essentially what you're gonna that's essentially what you're paying for here. Of course, this is still subject to like things with surplus, because if you start if you these guys, if they sell a product and it's not getting enough demand and there's still some left over in the shelves, they're gonna order fewer and fewer until the point that where they pretty much won't order anymore because there isn't that much demand for it, and that's why they do liquidation sales and other stuff like that. And That's another problem, and I guess in between corporations and established businesses and all. And now there's another issue also that I'm not sure that you're familiar with in regard to small established businesses and small established businesses and corporations, and that is called customer service. Now, in a small established business, it's fine. It's no big deal. It's okay. But the thing is, in large corporations, this should cost a lot of money. Okay? This should cost a lot of money. And the thing is that this is part of the reason why they outsource all these customer service call centers overseas and all. They're trying to cut back and all. I guess this is pretty much all I'm gonna say for now. But anyway, I hope I made my point here. But anyway, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later.